I'm engaged. How do I get married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago. Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of the wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress. From budgeting to booking vendors to day of drama, let's talk smart wedding planning. All right. Welcome to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? But we're doing a new segment, which threw me off. That's why we're all giggling right now. Now that I'm married, how can I help others?
Should I just say it?
No, I did it.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I messed it up a little, but you know how it is. I got two podcasts. It's hard to remember all the things. So, but anyway, we're with the one and only Meg Boyd, who recently got married in August to her husband Kyle in Berkeley at the Brazilian Room. So yes. Meg's here to kind of talk to us and hopefully help other couples as they going through this engagement process right now. So can you tell us a little bit about your wedding to start with?
Yeah, I mean, it was in Berkeley. The weather was surprisingly perfect. So
wasn't hot, wasn't cold?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't hot and it wasn't cold. It even rained a little bit. Before the ceremony.
That's actually
in a
cool.
good way.
Yeah, in a good way. We had some good mist, so like our photos turned out phenomenal. Food was great. Everyone was happy. It went really, really well.
Good. And I heard you had a really good maid of honor.
Yeah.
That wasn't me, Kevin.
or someone gave a really good speech. How's that?
There we go.
Well, yeah, both are correct.
Yeah.
All right.
To give listeners some context, Meg is one of my longtime childhood friends, and I was one of her bridesmaids in this wedding. So we thought it'd be cool for her to come and share her experience in this new segment we have created.
Yes, and I'm super happy and excited to do that.
Thank you for being here. All right, so what was the first thing you did after getting engaged?
Well, to be honest, me and my husband are very much go with the flow type people. So we were engaged from 2022 up until February of this year with no planning at all.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so we planned our wedding in less than 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good for you. Was everyone giving you like the when?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really funny because once people hear that you're engaged, even if it was 2 days prior, they're like, when's the date?
I know.
And, we were engaged for 2 years. So people were going feral.
Yeah. And then once you get married, then everyone's asking, when are the kids? When are the kids coming?
Yep. So. I'm already getting that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm getting that. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm still just a child. I am cosplaying. Listen.
One step at a time, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that initial feeling after you got engaged? Like, I know you guys are go with the flow, but it seems like you didn't have like any pressure to kind of get that done immediately.
No, not at all. Neither of us wanted to put pressure on ourselves like that, and we just wanted to absorb being engaged for as long as we could. Because being engaged for a short amount of time is such a bummer. Like, I don't like when people are engaged for only a few months.
Yeah.
Or even just a year. Like, take your time. Be engaged for a while. It feels good.
It does.
And, get familiar with the word fiance before you have to change it so fast.
I was just going to say that. I feel like it's more fun to be like, this is my fiance. Not like, this is my husband.
Yeah, and it's intriguing. People are like, ooh, fiance.
Fancy.
Just making it sound so bad.
Yeah.
Well, no, but everyone wants to see the ring. Like, there's an excitement, like an anticipation in the air, Yeah,
and it brings you back to girlhood. All the girls get so giggly and excited.
Yeah.
Live it up for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced during the planning process?
Well, for me, I would say I was not a part of a lot of weddings. Like, I did work a couple weddings, but I didn't go to them really at all growing up. So I don't have a lot of understanding of how weddings moved. So like schedules in a sense. Like I had no idea like what went first, what happened, like the hours and things like that. That was the thing that I was most scared of and struggling with to understand was like the series of events.
Yeah, it's a lot especially if you don't know what you're doing and never been to a wedding. Yeah, it could be extremely overwhelming. So.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that either. Even being like in the industry for a while, it wasn't until I started getting into coordinating with the venue I was at where my boss was like, "Hey, August, don't assume that couples know what you're talking about. Like when you use an acronym or you refer to like introductions, they're like, huh? What?" Because I mean, same thing in Meg's boat. There was many couples I worked with where they hadn't attended weddings ever or been a part of them, so they didn't understand the flow, the structure, the timeline, like any of the traditional things that you see. It just wasn't known to them.
Yeah, I also didn't know like any of the traditional like
formalities.
Yeah, like traditional formalities or like tradition in general.
Yeah, but that's it's funny. That's probably not a bad thing because weddings right now are very non-traditional. So
They are.
there's a big wave in the last probably 8 to 10 months where weddings are becoming non-traditional. There's still first dances. There's still like speeches, but outside of that, it's a mixed bag of tricks what you're going to do for tradition wise. So
that's true.
So that maybe that's a good thing for couples.
Yeah.
In your position. So.
Other than like understanding how weddings operate, were there any other challenges that you came across?
We got pretty lucky with how things ended up working out. So, and it takes a lot for me to get stressed out. So for me, not really. It was a lot of fun. Everything was fun. Good. Moving forward in any step of the way was just fun for me.
And why do you think that is? Did you think you went into it with a certain mindset? Because I feel like, I mean, I want to take what you have and give that to the listeners, right? Like, how can they have fun? How can they have a stress-free planning process? Because a lot of people, they'll write in or just experiences you hear, everyone is stressed the fuck out. Like, they do not know what's going on.
That is true. Well, I will say I actually did have a conversation with my husband because he was making the first month very difficult for me because he was stressed. He definitely was the bridezilla in the beginning. 100%. And
Groomzillas are real.
Yeah. I had to sit him down and I was like, look, there's two things that I am going in, like the mindset wise moving forward is nobody's really going to know the expectation, right? So like no matter what you put on, people are going to have a good time because that's what they think it was supposed to be the entire time. Like people don't like to be told what to do as well. So keeping things like very chill and exciting and kind of like a party. And that's what I told him. I was like, just pretend this is a big party with all of your people that are important to you. And then it doesn't really matter what happens. So I wasn't worried because I knew for me, I wasn't going to go into it with everybody having a role to play. I knew that I was going to go in with it like, if you want to do it, great. If you don't, great. We're all just going to have fun and make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I wasn't stressed at all.
Well, and I always say to us in the wedding industry, we're the biggest at improv there ever was because we sometimes we have to make it up and we have to make it up on the fly. And sometimes, the bustle on the dress doesn't stay and, you got to get a safety pin or some needle and thread and sew that sucker back. You got to just make it up. And that's what we got to do. And, shit happens. And the biggest thing is your guests have no idea what's going on. And as long as you can keep it to where the guests have no idea what's going on, I think everybody's going to be happy and everything's going to be fine. And everyone will have a good time. So
if things go wrong, all it is a good story later.
Oh, 100%.
I wish everyone had your mindset though, Meg. Like not everyone thinks that way. And like, I hope people, they can use you as a blueprint for their day. Yeah. Like just chill out,
And people were telling us that it was the best wedding that they've been to in a while just because of the energy and the aura.
Yeah. And that's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So, what advice do you have for balancing opinions from family members and friends? Because I'm sure you experienced it. Is once you get engaged or tell people you're engaged, everyone tells you what you need to do or how you need to do certain things. So, how do you? What's your advice for balancing that?
Well, for me, I didn't really have a lot of influence from people,
Oh,
thankfully. I
that's
had a good
good.
group of, yeah, I had a good group of people behind me. Everyone was willing. Everyone was super down for whatever I wanted. Like my maid of honor, she was the first one to kind of like help me and influence me a little bit. Her family had a ranch and they were gonna let us do it there
Mm.
for free. Like
Oh,
just have
wow.
like yeah, exactly. Have the venue for free. But when we went to go look at it, it wasn't my vibe. Like
Your vision.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So going there, like that was the only hiccup where I felt bad was because she was really, really excited for me to have my wedding on her family's ranch. But when I went, it was giving too ranchy vibes for me. And I didn't really, that's not really me. And so I was standing there and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to break the news to her that I don't like this. That was it. Other than that, I had no sore feelings on family or friends at all.
That's
Everybody
good.
was just excited. If you don't like something, don't settle to make someone happy for sure. Because I definitely, in that moment, was sitting there thinking when I was looking at what I was looking at and not liking it, I was leaning towards telling her yes, just because I love her so much.
No.
I
Oh,
know,
Yeah.
I know. But it ended up being my husband walking around and him looking at me and like getting overwhelmed. And then I pulled him to the side and I was just like, what's with your attitude? What's going on? He was like, I don't like it. And I was like, okay, we're on the same page then. So
well,
it's a
and that
no.
too, if it's at a
It's a
property
no.
that doesn't have weddings, and they don't normally host weddings a lot, you're going to end up spending more money than you normally will because you have to bring in tables, chairs,
Yeah.
sometimes even bathrooms because they don't have
hmm
enough bathroom facilities or,
So yes, that's the thing
yeah.
is when we were looking at it and because they do weddings, but it's definitely bring your own stuff. Like it's
Mm,
not, they don't have like a
yeah.
warehouse full of wedding stuff by any means. And to get people around, you had like a golf cart kind of in a sense.
Oh,
And yeah, and my husband's dad can't walk very well, and so it just wasn't gonna work with him. Every time he needed to go to the bathroom, which was up the hill, he'd have to get on a
yeah.
car.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
No, I was just going to say, and I think if more couples err on the side of guest experience at their weddings, they're going to have people say what they said about your wedding. We had a great time. Everything was amazing. It felt good because you gave them a great experience. And that's what part of it is. So having to go really far to a restroom or, all those kind of things is not a good guest experience.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
exactly what I was going to
It's
say,
not a good
Kevin.
experience. Like, imagine in a big wedding dress trying to get on a golf cart. Like,
Yeah.
they're
Well,
not.
that was going to be my next
I mean,
point
if it's for
too.
you, like, do you, girl? Like,
Mhm.
do you? But it wasn't me.
Was like I think in that moment, it's like coming up with a pro and con list too, and I think this lesson can be applied to couples as they're researching and looking at their venues is like I think it did have some pros, Meg, like we talked about, like okay, there's no time limit, like we can end whenever we want to, and we can clean up the next day, we don't have to worry about it today. But then it's like, okay, yeah, but then you have to bring in all the stuff, and like who's going to do that the day of? And and you guys really did not just think about, of course, your own vision, like yes, I don't see myself getting married here, and I think that's extremely important, but you thought about the guests and about Kyle's dad, like okay, this is just not gonna work out for us. And and I think your friend, the maid of honor, she was very understanding, like she understood that it didn't check all your boxes, and I think she was good at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely don't be scared to like tell them too, because for the most part, hopefully, they just want you to be happy. So, me eventually like looking at her when we were up there and being like, Mila, I'm so sorry. She was like, it's okay. She was completely
She was fine.
completely fine with it. And I was like, oh my God, I was freaking out for no reason.
Yeah.
They
That's
just want
usually
you to be
what
happy.
usually what we do as humans. We freak out for no reason. So
Yeah.
Well, and I think that kind of segues us into our next question is, how did you find the Brazilian room? How did you decide like this was the one? And same question goes for your other vendors and creative partners. Like what drew you to them? Why did you choose them? Because I think that is probably one of the most stressful parts of the planning process is like
It is,
getting
100%.
the date, getting the venue, getting all those creative partners nailed down because everything else kind of falls into place after that. But kind of talk through that process with us.
Well, so for us, we kind of just like Googled around to see local, in a sense, venues because we live where you guys are. We live in Livermore. And then his family lives in like San Jose and Gilroy and Oakland and that kind of area. And so we wanted to pick something that was like in one of those. So that everybody could be like comfortable and get there, safely, not too long of a drive. And we went to a couple places, and then we went to the Brazilian room because when we were looking for these venues and we were calling them and saying like for dates and stuff like that of when we can come by and see it, the Brazilian room has like a venue fair where you can like go and look at the venue and you can look at their approved caterers and stuff like that. It's like a whole event. And you can go, and I believe it's the first Tuesday of every month. And that happened to be like a day or two later than when we were on Google. So we were like, neither of us worked that day. Let's just go. And so we ended up going, and we brought August with us. And it
smart move.
was, yep, it was stunning because my childhood dream always has been to like get married in some sort of greenhouse-esque building where there's big tall windows and lots of them. So when we went, it just took my breath away because there were so many windows and they were big and it was so pretty and it was just like nature forest-esque behind you. And I was just envisioning different things, like taking my time walking around and like just looking at layouts in my head. And I just fell in love with it. And when we were walking around, they were telling us how we needed to have their like approved caterers and stuff like that, but it was very accessible, thankfully. Like they had all the info. They gave us packets. Everything was great. The only thing is that it's very popular. So the Brazilian room was booked for like a year and a half or 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I got really sad and we went home and I was like, well, that's great. Like the place that I really, really liked is booked. And then we did keep looking at other places. We know a winery in Livermore too. So we were like kind of in contact with him as well to see if he would let us do it on his property. And we were kind of getting discouraged. And this was in like January. We were kind of getting discouraged and we're like, well, we've waited this long. Like we can go another year and a half. Like maybe we'll look into dates of the Brazilian room. And so we were looking at the packets. We were looking at, the pricing and stuff like that, trying to figure it out. And then we kind of put it on a shelf because both of us hadn't really moved forward with anything else. And so we were like, well, we don't want to be hasty and get a date, even though we haven't planned literally anything at all. Like, we don't even know if what we vision for a wedding is going to fit at the Brazilian room. So we were talking about that. And then I was at work one day and my husband called me and he was like, I would have been like refreshing their Instagram every day just to try to see. And that's something that you could do is if you have your heart set on a venue, follow them on all of their social medias because you never know what will happen. And that's what happened to us is we followed them on all of their social medias and they were in cohorts with the park district too.
Mm.
So we followed them as well, and we were just looking at it daily. And that's what happened. Is he refreshed their Instagram. They posted something that said, "We have a last minute change. We have one day, the whole
Oh, no.
day, but it's in 5 months, and
Oh,
like
wow.
hop on it now before it's gone."
Yeah.
You know, and Kyle, without even thinking, he just hopped on it. He called them, "Give it to me. I want it. My wife wants this. Like, please." And yeah, and then we called his dad, and they worked it out over the phone with the Brazilian room because, again, I was at work. And then he called me and broke the news to me, and I was just so ecstatic. Like, I didn't even care that it was in 5 months. Like, I'm telling you, if you have your heart set on something like that, make it happen. Like, try your best to make it happen, because you don't want to be disappointed at all. Because if you're at your wedding day at the venue that you picked because it made more sense, and then you're thinking about the other venue that you really, really liked, you're gonna be unhappy. Like, oh my gosh. So I was just so excited. And
That's
then
like dating advice, also venue
I know. I
picking
was like, it
advice.
sounds like you're cheating on your venue.
yeah, and then so I just called up
My
all
true
the
love is out
girlfriends,
there.
and I was like, "This is our date, Pookies. Like, get your dresses, girls. Like,
Mhm.
we're making it happen." And it just really worked out because, one, August helped me a lot, and then our other mutual helped us a lot, and my maid of honor as well, and even just my bridesmaids. We all made a day. We hung out and we did crafts and we just made it work, and it was perfect. It was perfect because we wouldn't let it slide, even though they were like, "We don't have dates until like 2 years." We were like, "I don't know. We're gonna try."
But you knew it was the right one because you were even
did.
willing to wait that time, you know? And
I
like
was, yeah.
that was, I mean, you know, when I used to work in venue sales, that's kind of what we would pitch to people, is like some people would just get sad because they're like, "This is my venue and like you guys
Yeah.
don't have the date." I'm like, "Pick a different date or wait another year." Like, clearly, like, you haven't seen anything else like this. And like you said, Meg, like,
Yeah.
do you want to
Pick your
be
venue before your date. Oh my God. Definitely
Yeah.
pick your venue before your date.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to just to see the availability too, but yeah.
So many people do pick the date before they pick their venue, and that's where a lot of stress and drama comes
Yeah.
in, because you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole kind of thing, and it just
Don't do
doesn't
that.
work.
Yeah.
No, because like like if someone really like you love the Brazilian room, love the outdoor, the nature. I mean, there's nothing like it in the Bay Area, as far as the beauty of it and everything. So if you really want that, you got to be flexible and and try to find a compromise. So yeah, no, there's a lot of people you'll talk to, like they'll even call us and say, "Hey, yeah, we're getting married on June 15th," and you're like, "Oh, okay, where's your venue?" "We don't have it yet." And I'm in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, you're not gonna find good luck finding a venue on June 15th.
June 15th, good luck.
Yeah,
Any
kind of thing.
Everything else comes after. Everything else comes after.
Yeah, that's really good advice for everyone. So, all right. So, how did you navigate decision making with your now husband?
We used the council of August and our mutual.
So August was your therapist?
Any decisions.
I was the referee. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We really, I'm so serious. We did not make any decisions by ourselves, like at all, because I mean, obviously we trust each other's like opinions and stuff like that, but neither of us know anything about coordinating. So pretty much everything we used our coordinator, and then August, because she's been doing this for so long.
You hear that, people? Trust your team.
August is a
trust
goat.
Not me specifically, but
you are.
Trust your team, trust your creative partners you picked, because they have your best interests at heart, and they're professionals,
as long
and they
as
have
you
experience.
give them a vision. As long as you give them a vision, they're gonna make it happen. They're gonna give you good advice.
Oh yeah, because we've seen it a million times. We've seen it go well, and we've seen it go wrong. And so when sometimes people come at us and they want to do something, and in my head I'm like, this isn't going to work. We've tried it 100 times, and it just is not going to work. And you'll be happy. And it took me a while to get confident with clients to be like, you're not going to be happy with the end result, and let's try to think of a different way to do this, because I think in the end you'll be happier if we change course. So
yeah. Definitely keep an open mindset with everything, for sure.
So the advice is hire August and as your referee.
Hire Fantasy Sound Event Services.
Be lucky August when you're 11 years old.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think was the most memorable or special part of the planning journey for you?
Ooh, definitely going to open warehouses. That was a lot of fun for me, specifically because
open warehouses.
So like it could be for caterers or DJs or sound or lighting or anything like that. We went to an open warehouse for the caterer that we picked, and thankfully we got super lucky with not only being like taken aback by how beautiful everything was, but also their attitude, and they were approved caterer for the Brazilian room, so it was very like seamless, worked out. But going to those is so much fun, especially for a bride, because they really play it up for you. Like if you're showing up and they're like, oh my gosh, like we want you to have the best day of your life, like what the bride says go, like everything like that. It's a lot of fun, and you do feel special, and you get like this type of like adrenaline to make things happen as well, because it like inspires you.
The serotonin of it all.
Yeah, you really do. You get like serotonin to move forward with things, instead of like being on Google and like on Pinterest and stuff like that. Like going and visually seeing things is so much fun and way better. Like
it probably makes it feel more real too. Like here it is, a tangible thing in front of me.
Yeah, and they're looking at you and they're calling you Miss Bride, and they're calling him like groom and stuff like that. It's like a lot of fun. It's like a cute little date adventure too, to go with your fiance, and you can bring like your maid of honor or a friend, and then you're all just like so excited and on cloud nine about everything like that. And then you get free food and sometimes champagne and drinks and stuff like that. You get to look at how pretty everything is and put it in your books. Take a lot of pictures when you go to those things. Like, don't forget to take pictures and videos if you can.
It's a very good tip.
Yeah, take a lot of pictures. My whole camera roll is like just full of pictures from those things. That was probably the most exciting thing. And then also my dress, like picking out my dress and feeling super excited about that was a big deal for me.
Being a princess, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And take your time with that, but also like don't overthink it. Like if you feel comfortable, like, and you feel pretty and you love it, like pick that one.
Move on.
Yeah.
No, that some brides will spend months and months and months and going to multiple places looking at dresses and come back to the first or second one they trade on, and that's the one. Yeah. Why put yourself through all that stress? So all right, were there any hidden gems or details that you were glad you invested in when it came to the wedding, other than August?
Please.
That I invested in,
like something you like, little something you did or spent money on.
Yeah, I would say the linens. That was something expensive that we picked. Oh, and also my bouquet. My bouquet was kind of expensive, but let me tell you, oh my god,
it was
so great,
jaw-dropping. You know that one Lady Gaga clip where she's like, amazing, show-stopping, beautiful, never before seen, give birth to it? That was her bouquet.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you, that was the best choice I ever made for anything aesthetic. That and the linens. So the linens were, because we were, obviously, as you do when you live in the Bay Area, you try to penny pinch where you can.
Bougie on a budget.
Makes sense. Exactly. Bougie on a budget. But for the linens specifically, I had to, because white, first of all, in my personal opinion, gets dirty very fast. So I was worried about that.
Boring.
Yes, and it's boring, and like everybody sees white. But we were going with a very classy feel, so I was like conflicted because I was like, white is very classy, and I can bring color in like other ways, right? And so I was like thinking satin, and I was just like, but that's like too shiny, and because we're doing low lighting, so I was like, I don't really know. And then when I went to one of those open houses, open warehouse things, they had a bunch of linens like on a clothing rack pretty much, and I was like looking through them, and I found one that was like a perfect green, and it was this really nice like matte texture, but then it had like almost like paisleys, but not really paisleys, but they were like little swirls, and they were satin.
Oh,
and
cool.
so it was like a good mix of both.
Yeah.
And it was like a calming green color, like kind of like a sagey olive, like kind of green color. And I just tied everything perfectly together, and it just looked clean the entire night. And
well,
people were
and it
like
ties in
spilling
your
things.
color.
Don't get me wrong,
And that's where you did spend some money on it, but it also is an inexpensive way to bring in a lot of color.
Yeah, and then you don't have to get fancy with the glassware and the plates and stuff like that, because the linens like do that. They're like the eye catch. And so you can like, the glassware and the plates are more expensive if you go with a prettier set than the linens are. At least for the, caterers that we went with. So that's why I picked that.
Yeah, and when they do their photos, they're going to see more of that. They're going to see more of that stuff instead of the glassware and all those kind of things.
Exactly.
Well, and it's funny you say that too, because I was, Kevin knows I've been kind of re-reviewing our past episodes from this year, and I was listening to our episode with Ginger from the Flower House, and she touched on this, and she said, like, as a florist, she loves when they take into account the color of the linen, because I know, Meg, you did plants, but this could apply to any other couple who is choosing like a floral centerpiece. But she said, like, okay, like if you choose a white linen, my white flowers are going to look kind of off-white. So you kind of have to play with that color theory, right? So like the green of the tables transformed the entire space, and honestly made your plants look more green, made the little amber candles shine a little bit brighter too. So it plays a huge part in the overall feel of the room.
Yeah, especially if you use like a paler type of color in comparison to your florals and centerpieces.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like absolutely stunning. And then if you know me, then you know that I really don't like flowers that much. They're not like an important thing in my life, unless they're exotic, obviously, because then they're more of a plant to me and less of a flower. But I am a plant mom and I love plants. So I did the centerpieces myself. I went out and I thrifted a bunch of bottles, and I just cut off pieces from my propagation, 4 propagations, I mean, from all of my plants. And I did that at least just like a month before, because it doesn't take long for them to like root and look pretty and stuff like that. So I made a bunch, and we had 15 tables? I don't even remember. So I only needed to make like 15. So I did that, and it was super easy. And then after like figuring all that out, I was stressed about my bouquet. And it just in a sense, because I was like, I don't know, should I just not have a bouquet? Because I don't like how you're just standing there and it looks like, you've passed away and you're in your coffin and you're holding flowers.
Please.
That's how it feels to me. I don't like
the corpse bride.
I never thought about it that way. Oh my god.
I feel stupid. And like every time I like was entertaining a different flower, and I was just like, okay, we'll just do baby's breath, because that's really all I can handle. And I was like, but that's stupid. And that's like so easy, So I was trying to look up flowers not associated with weddings at all.
Oh,
I
that's
was
smart.
I was looking at quinceañeras and proms and stuff like that. And then I was thinking of something that would be elegant and droopy. And so I don't really like ferns, but I was like looking up ferns and stuff like that because they do kind of like droop if you're holding them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was looking at other droopy stuff. And then I realized that orchids can be very droopy and they're exotic. So they give more of a plant feel. And you can get a range of just stunning colors. Then I was like, that is going to be the moment where I put a pop of color that doesn't make sense. So
I like that.
my whole vibe of the wedding was like greens and browns and creams and gold. Like it was, if you don't, if I didn't say before, I don't think I did, but the theme of the wedding was speakeasy. So it was very moody, very calming colors, like things like that. And I had put in on the invitations, like for my questions and answers, if there was a dress code. And I was just like, speakeasy attire. And then I gave them like a range of colors. And I was like, let's pick from one of those range of colors that I had told the people to wear. And I was like, because then that'll be perfect. And then I'll like tie it in. And so I decided to choose like kind of like this burgundy, moody, like pink colors. So it wasn't pink by any means, but it was just kind of like
a muted pink almost.
Yeah. Like a mauve-y, like burgundy orchids. And they were droopy. And then thankfully the caterers that we went with, they did those kinds of things. They did bouquets for you. And so I asked them about it and I was like, is this crazy? Like, is this insane of me to like think of this? And she was like, well, I've never done it before, but I'm happy to try. And so she did, and she got the beautiful orchids. It was like big, and it just drooped down like in a point at the end. And then she wrapped the base in it in satin with like a pearl pin. And then she put in like different like droopy, I don't even know what those are.
I was trying to think of the name. It is kind of like a fern in a way, but kind of smaller. But they were like pink and they were mauve colored. Yeah.
They were purple as well, and they had like tiny little beads on them, and they were small like this.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know what
those are pretty. I don't know what they're called either, but I know I can totally picture what you're talking about.
So it was all one color. It wasn't like greenery poking out like accent flowers or anything like that. It was all one color, and it was droopy. It was perfect. And in my pictures, it was the pop of color that went perfect with the green background. Because again, I was like, it's a foresty background. Like there's trees and there's green grass and like all this stuff. And then I'm wearing white, and then Kyle's wearing brown. And then I just have my giant, beautiful purple bouquet, purpley pink.
Oh, awesome.
And it was the best decision I ever made. And people are still talking to me about it. And it's December, and that was in August.
It really tied it together. It did. All the photos. Yeah, it was just a great focal point.
Yeah, it was such a good idea. And I'm so happy that I thought of something like that, because it was really frustrating me. Like everything about flowers was frustrating me.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that was a little
funny. And it's just funny. I was thinking the whole time you're talking to is like the Brazilian room is like as close as you can get to Tahoe without being up in Tahoe. Like it's got that outdoorsy.
It does have that vibe.
Yeah,
it really does.
Wait, and Kevin, we did her bachelorette in Tahoe, so she definitely has that like she has that vibe going.
There you go.
Oh my god!
Yeah, no, it's such and like the air feels cleaner and fresher up there, and the whole thing. So yeah, no, it's a good thing.
When I was like talking about weather, I literally I'm telling you, Mother Nature just gave me a gift for being as calm as I could in every situation in planning the wedding. Because the day before, when we were doing like our rehearsal, it was sunny and it was hot. And I was like, oh, it's sunny and it's hot. And I was wearing like a dress that was like, you know, a U kind of neck. And I got a little sunburned because of that. And I was like, I'm wearing a strapless dress tomorrow. That's lame. And so the next day I woke up, it was raining outside, and my sunburn was gone.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And I'm pale. I am white as white comes. And when I get sunburned, it's there for like 2 months. And it was completely gone the next day. I'm telling you, wedding miracles are a thing. They are a thing. if you manifest it.
You put
But
it out
yeah,
there
and then it
and
was
happen.
raining and then it was foggy, and that's Berkeley for you, which is why, like, it was a gamble, like doing Berkeley in August, but it worked out.
It was perfect.
Yeah, you never know.
And then it wasn't uncomfortable because it was still 70 degrees, but it looked like it was raining outside and cold and foggy, but it wasn't. It was perfect.
Perfect. All right, as we wrap things up, what is like the one advice or a couple nuggets that you can give to other couples that are planning their wedding to wrap it up?
Just remember that, like, a wedding is just like anything else where you see something in your head, but it's not what you're going to see in the end result. And as long as you just remember that this day is about celebrating you, and that it would be a real shame and a real disappointment for you to be unhappy on your wedding.
That's so wise. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I mean, it's true though, and exactly like how you said, like, I think, and I've never like heard that verbalized before, but like, okay, I have this vision for my wedding. I'm planning. This is what I'm telling people to do. This is what I'm instructing my creative partners to create. But then getting there and then maybe feeling that twinge of disappointment, like, oh, this isn't exactly what I expected. Like, so coming into it with an open mind. And like you said, remembering we're here because of our love. We're here because of our commitment to each other. We're here because we want to spend the rest of our lives together, not because of what color the linens are or, you know, how the room panned out.
Yeah.
I had so much fun the entire time. I was not disappointed with anything. And the next day, I just woke up with so much excitement that I got to start a new chapter of my life, that it was euphoric. And I want everyone to experience that.
They should, because I had a bride get so upset when she walked in her room and she saw the folded napkins wrong and she lost her mind. And it's like, I'm like, that's the least of your problems.
Don't get wrapped up in that.
Well, that, and no one's ever going to notice that
no one cares. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no one knows and no one cares.
They can't
so like,
see what's in your head.
No.
So relax.
Yep. Move on. So.
Yeah.
Meg, I'm so glad like you were kind of the first one for this segment, because you had a lot of good nuggets to say, and I feel like you are almost, I don't want to like put you in a box, but it feels like the blueprint as far as what mindset you need to have going into wedding planning, right? So I think you had a very good perspective and a very good mindset walking into it all, and I just wish every bride could take that, and every groom could take that and just, you know, feel that ease.
Well, I was really excited to do this too, is because I feel like a lot of people don't think like that.
They don't, unfortunately. And that, girl, that's why we're doing this podcast. Like, we're trying to let people know, like, hey, it's okay. Hey, we have people here to help. And I'm so glad that, you know, now that you're married, you can help our listeners and just kind of give them some ease.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? The Now That I'm Married, How Can I Help Others version. I did it right that time.
Good job. Good job.
Our very first one. So Meg, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I had so much fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me if you have a topic you would like us to cover, or if you are struggling with your wedding planning. Please be sure to submit a question at podcast@fantasysound.com. I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It helps others find our podcast so they can learn from our guests too. And to everyone listening, happy wedding planning.